ready.
Welcome to another episode of Buff in the Rough. Today we'll hear from Bruce Conkey about what he's seen in 60 years of hunting with hounds, anacondas in the everglades, the history of Conkey's outdoors, and a lot more. Help me welcome Bruce Conkey to the program. Well, hey Bruce, how are you doing?
I'm wonderful this morning. It's a nice Florida day down here. The temperature's mild and the sun's kind of shining, and it's just a good day so far.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you so much for coming on. I know you're in demand. A lot of folks want to talk to you, and I really appreciate you coming on. But Bruce, before we kind of get started, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Maybe for folks that don't know who Bruce Conkey is, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into hunting dogs?
Well, that's a question that sometimes I have to ask myself, but I was born and raised down in Miami, Florida, which is a large city, and not generally known for its hunting characteristics. But I was raised and by my mother mainly. My father, he left when I was an early age, and I got to know him as time went on, but he never hunted. He was kind of a workaholic, and I think I caught a little bit of that trait from him, but I never had anybody in my life that was a hunter. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I used to go out in the backyard and pretend like I was in Africa, big game hunting and chasing stuff around the backyard in a city backyard. But some of the neighbors hunted, and I would sit there, and I'm not gonna, I don't like to be a person to think I'm jealous, but I would see the neighbors taking their sons and their daughters off and spending the weekend out in the Everglades or going hunting. And it was something I wanted to do, Mm-hmm. And I talked to John Wick one time, and he kind of talked about genetics, just like we talk about our dogs' genetics. Mm-hmm. And he said he thinks there's a genetic makeup of some people that they just want to hunt. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of me.
That's a fantastic way to get started. It was just in you to hunt.
And I was I always like to have a little dog around when I was a kid or an early teenager. And probably when I was about 13, we moved up into North Dade County, which is still in South Florida, mm-hmm. but about 30, 40 miles north of Miami, right on the Dade-Broward County line. And I got a dog that was, I don't know, it looked like I had a lot of hound in it, but I kind of was sitting on the front porch and I talked to that dog and tell it that someday when I got my driver's license, I was going to take it hunting and I was going to do this and I was going to do that because I wouldn't be dependent on anybody to take me because nobody would or did. Mm-hmm. And I shared with that dog, I actually made some notes one time. I was going to write something. I was going to say I talked to the dog, but God was listening. Because I talked to the dog. I talked to the dog about hunting. I actually told the dog that, I wanted to get married when I was young, and told the dog I wanted to have kids when I was young so I could be a part of their life and, not be too old to play football with them or baseball with them or whatever, out in the backyard. Mm-hmm. And all kind of worked out. I mean, I was blessed I got married when I was 18. I had a child about a year later and a daughter about 2 years later. And that was 57 years ago. I just celebrated my 57th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
So the good Lord blessed me with a wonderful wife and 2 kids that I think highly of. And I always use the term productive member of society. And I think both of them grew up to be that. They been responsible people, and I know they made their father happy. And I'm just so thankful for that.
Well, Bruce, who were your early influences? I mean, you mentioned that you didn't really have anybody, especially early on, to show you how to hunt. Well, I know you had to start at some point. Well, how did that work out? And who were some of those important people that you met early on?
Okay, well, there was down in Miami, the Miami Herald was a newspaper that was about an inch and a half thick. I mean, it was a thick newspaper, especially Sunday.
Wow.
And I would go through the classified section, and I become kind of I guess an expert, but I knew I could go all the way through the classified, knew where to look for this and knew where to look for that. So I always read about the pets for sale.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked up right when I was 16, I found a blue tick that was advertised in the Miami Herald, and I don't even know what I paid for the dog. Not very much. And I raised the dog, and I actually started hunting it by myself. I didn't know anything about how to hunt. I just knew where the woods were, and I took my dog out there, and I never forget, one night I let it out, and it went off not very far, but it started baying up something in a bunch of trees, and to tell you the truth, I was kind of scared to death to go in there to see what it had. But I was by myself with a little flashlight, and sure enough, it had a possum up a tree. And it kind of just set the tone for me wanting to coon hunt, I guess.
I love it.
But shortly after that, there was a gentleman, his name was Willard Smith. He's actually in North Carolina right now, probably about 85, 86 years old. Mm-hmm. And he's in pretty good health for his age, and he's probably playing golf this morning. But he kind of took me under his wing. He was about 10 years older than me. I was probably about, getting toward 20, and he was probably about 30, and I hunted with him. And he came from a coon hunting family from Murphy, North Carolina,
mm-hmm.
and he knew a little bit about the sport. And we used to go to the Everglades, and it would be about a 90-minute drive from our house. And we'd go out there 2 or 3 nights a week, and we'd cut the dogs loose, and we'd just walk behind them through the swamps there, mm-hmm. and they tree us a few coon. And there was a couple other friends that started coon hunting with us down there. Willard was probably one of the biggest influences, but the men that I met in coon hunting, that kind of took me under their wing. They were good men. They were Christian men, and I felt God, He sent them to me. Mm-hmm. And when I was younger, it's kind of funny. All my friends were older. My wife would say, "All your friends are older. Why?" Well, I guess I didn't like the generation that I was in or something.
Mm-hmm.
I like the older generation. But now that I've gotten older, most of my friends and hunting buddies, they're a lot younger. Mm-hmm. So they kind of reverse on both ends of my life. When I was young, I dealt with the older people. And now that I'm old, I'm dealing with the younger people, which, to be honest, can be challenging at times, but it teaches me to be patient and understanding and just share what I can with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, as you were growing in the sport, and you had those early people helping you out, and you started seeing what a coon dog was, and having some success treeing game, I know you had to have some good hounds over the years. What are some of as you look back, what are some of your favorite hounds that you've ever hunted with?
Well, it's kind of funny. We mostly pleasure hunted, mm-hmm. but then we started reading in the magazines about these competition hunts. And being in Florida, some of the nearest ones were 2-3 hours away. And we took our pleasure hounds one night to a competition hunt. And it was up around the Orange Grove area, around the central Florida. And we thought, boy, we heard about all the coons in the orange groves. Well, we learned real quick that night that our dogs were pretty good hounds, and they were good at treeing coon. But when all these coon around, they weren't good at staying on one tree. They tree here, and then they hear a coon fighting another tree, and they be over there treeing. And so I learned a good lesson that night. But then we started started dealing with the competition hunts, and as time come along, some of the better dogs I saw when I was earlier was mainly I moved to North Florida in 1980, mm-hmm. and that's only about a couple hours from Waycross, Georgia, in that area, and there was a lot of guys from that neck of the woods that had some pretty nice hounds, mm-hmm. and Paul Sheffield was one of them with Hardwood Dan. Buddy Deluttry, he's had some really nice hounds and understood hounds his whole life. Cecil Pittman. I had a buddy, a real close friend in Daytona, Georgia, which is about 125 miles from me, and and I drive up there a night or two a week to hunt with him. These guys have some, they have some pretty decent hounds, and they do the ins and outs of competition coon hunting, and I learn a lot from them.
Well, if you think back over the years to some of your favorite hounds that you've hunted with, and maybe even hounds that you haven't hunted with, if you could build like a dream cast, like four of those hounds, they could be past or present. These could be hounds living today. They could be hounds that have been long gone. Famous hounds maybe you've never even hunted with. But
yeah, I think I've been on some of them dream casts, but they turned out to be a nightmare for me because I didn't have the dog that I needed. But when you go to these little hunts, I would seem like I drew hardwood Dan and quite a few times. And then there was a gentleman over in Thomasville, Georgia. His name was Wilbur Hagan, hunted a dog out of Pac-Man for the guy that owned him. I can't think of his name right now, but and then I had a local guy, had a son out of Second Junior that was a pretty nice hound. And it was almost like you go and draw them three dogs, and you were like you were in a world championship cast because they were all really nice dogs and were pretty good at tree and coon. But Hardwood Dan and Paul Sheffield, Paul was one of the hardest hunters. Back in the early days, PKC had a hunt that was a $10 entry fee. And you go there, and 4 dogs split, you win $22. Well, Paul would drive from Baxley, Georgia, down here, which is about a little over 2 hours, to the competition hunt with us. Him and his wife would come down. They'd get a motel. They'd spend the night after he won our $22 because he did win it most of the time. But Dan was I guess 2 years the Karina Point champion, and Dan was really a nice hound. But I met some other guys. A guy from Kentucky that came down every year and hunted. He had some pretty nice dogs, and we would hunt in the wintertime when he come down. And he actually ended up. His name was we called him Hoppy, but his name was E.L. Stepp. He had a world champion red bone called Stepp's Little Pepper, and he had some really year in and year out. A lot of guys will have a good dog, and then it'll take them 2 or 3 years to find another good dog. Well, Hoppy would come down year after year, and whatever dog he bought was pretty darn nice. He had consistently had some pretty nice hounds year in and year out. But talking about influences in the sport, I guess my biggest one, and he lived in Kentucky, was Roy Tramble. And everybody calls him Mr. Roy. He was kind of the backbone of the PKC hunts, the PCA hunts. He helped start them, and for a long time, he was until he passed away, he was a mainstay or a main pillar of PKC. And I met him back in the 80s through an ad in the magazine long before PKC or PCA, and we just become friends, and I'd call him, and he'd share information with me about how things were going and what I should do with the dog, and he kind of mentored me on the phone. And it's kind of not funny, but back in those days, I had a house that I paid like $100 a month on, and from talking to coon hunters around the country, especially Mr. Roy, I'd have a $100 phone bill.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what my wife said. More than once. But nowadays I can talk all over the country for free on my cell phone. But back in the old days, there used to be Southern Bell. They charge you for every minute you were on that phone, and I was on it quite a bit, trying to learn about coon dogs. And not sure if I ever learned enough or not, but Mr. Roy was very, very helpful, and I really enjoyed talking to him.
Bruce, how many years you been doing this, hunting with dogs?
Oh, probably, I'm 75, so probably by the time I was 16, so what did that come boil down about? I don't know, 64 years or something, 60 years?
No, wow. Now listen, anybody that's hunted that long, I don't care what it is, coon hunting, rabbit hunting, squirrel hunting, bird hunting, whatever, has seen some interesting things while they've been out hunting. Can you tell us about a memorable hunt or two, something that was just really sticks out in your mind, just one of those good old memories?
Well, I guess, it's I always use a phrase that's kind of funny, but That's one thing about coon hunting, and you have a lot of different nights, and it's actually the crazy stuff that happens or the funny stuff that happens is kind of what makes it memorable. You can get down, I don't know, I would, if I ever, and I had one or two, not many, but I had a really decent dog, and it almost it got boring because they did what I expected them to do.
Mm-hmm.
The fun for me came out of trying to train a puppy or seeing some of the crazy stuff. Like at the end of the night, it's like, can you believe that dog did that? Or can you, and that's what's always been kind of fun and challenging. Or you go with different people and you see the varied, the thought process they have and how everybody has a little bit of different thought process of how they should train a dog or handle a dog. Mm-hmm. And what it comes down to is we're kind of all listening together. So we got to encourage one another. Mm-hmm. We got to try to build one another. It's so easy for hunters to tear one another down, but it's a lot harder to build one another up because we do have varied styles and interests. Mm-hmm. You got to be understanding of your fellow hunter. But down in the Everglades one night, we were way back out. Well, two things. We were way back out in there one night, and we would turn out, and it wouldn't be another hard road for 17 miles across there. Ooh. The vast swamps, and you had to have a swamp buggy or something to get through there. But we were on foot, and we see these lights out there one night in the middle of nowhere. And we started getting closer and closer. It was a helicopter, and and we kind of like, this ain't good. This has something to do with drugs or something illegal. You know what I mean? And all we had was a single-shot .22 rifle. And them guys had a lot more firepower than we had. So we turned off our lights and we kind of eased back into a cypher pond until them lights went away. And then out there another night, people will think, these airplanes that would come into the Everglades and drop drugs and narcotics and stuff.
Right.
And I would say, well, how did these airplanes get in and get out of here without anybody knowing it? Mm-hmm. Well, one night, me and a buddy, we were in the swamps, walking across the swamps, and we got separated maybe about 100 yards because he was going over to a dog over there, and I was going to a dog over here. And then I had an airplane fly over me, treetop tall. I mean, it looked like it was right above my head. And when I got back with him, we got back together. I said, did you see that airplane? He said, no, I heard it, but I didn't see it. And so that answered, he's like not even 100 yards away from me, and he didn't see the airplane. He just heard it. But I saw it and felt the wind off of it, it seemed like.
Wow.
But you got to see that stuff to really understand it, believe it. And some of that stuff you see, you really don't want to see again. So
those are great stories. So tell us a little bit about hunting in Florida. I've been very blessed to hunt all over the country. I've never hunted in Florida. It sounds like you better like water, or at least know how to work through water.
Yeah, I in my younger days down in the Everglades, sometimes the water was so deep in some spots, I know it was lay down and actually kind of swim was easier than walking. The water gets up about thigh deep. Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard going through that stuff. Mm-hmm. But, the dogs get used to water, but it's tough on them. And, South Florida was a lot different here than North Florida. North Florida, we have our pine trees and our few hardwoods along the creeks or the canal banks. And South Florida was just, a lot of sawgrass, a lot of flat prairie grass that was gently covered in water, and then you had your cycling ponds scattered through there. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot different between there and here. But people, I guess all over the country, people talk about how hard their hunting is. I think coon hunting, I've hunted the mountains, and I don't like the mountains. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any water, but I sure do better in water than I do up in the mountains, going up and down the mountains. It wore me out. So I understand that there's hard hunting no matter where you hunt, especially if you coon hunt. I've been at work that night. I used to work at a power plant. We had a couple thousand acres and somebody would say, well, what is coon hunting like? I've never coon hunted. Mm-hmm. I would say, well, it's kind of like you would turn your dog loose here, and where he's going to end up is the roughest, toughest spot of woods on this property. I mean, that's what
So true.
That's what you do. You turn them loose, and you end up with the thickest stuff there is. And sometimes you treat an easy one on the side of a road or a trail or something, but that's few and far between. Most of the time, it's deep in the swamp.
Bruce, there's one thing I really wanted to ask you about, and I don't care where I am, what part of the country. I don't like snakes. They freak me out. I don't mind them if I see them first, kind of guy. I mean, I understand the need to have good snakes, and all that. But I see the news. I see the news about pets in Florida being killed by these huge snakes that aren't necessarily from our part of the country, but people bought them and then kind of turned them loose out in the wild. And do you guys have problems with predators getting your hounds or getting you? I mean, getting after you, whether they're big snakes or gators or whatever. Do you worry about stuff like that?
No, I tell people, and I tell them, well, if you're going to be a good racing car driver, you can't worry about that wall. Because that wall will kill you as quick as anything if you run into it.
Uh-huh.
And if you want them to hunt, you can't worry about the snakes, and you can't worry about the critters.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be easier for me to say because I'm colorblind. So I don't see as many as my buddy does.
Mm.
So a lot of them I walk by, but down in South Florida, you got those right now. They're overrun with those anacondas, the different kind of snakes.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened there is when Hurricane Andrew came in the mid '80s or whatever it was, and all those exotic pet places down there in South Bay County, all those animals got loose, and they just took over. But up here in North Florida, I mean, you have your poisonous snakes, and mainly the cottonmouth moccasin. That's our most dreaded enemy. Mm-hmm. But I've been fortunate. I've had dogs bit, and if you just kind of use a little common sense, minor care, they're going to be all right. You get some antibiotic in them. Some people go as far as the Benadryl and stuff for shock and stuff. Mm-hmm. But the main thing is the bite getting infected.
Right.
Because the snake's mouth is actually, it's got more different type of bacteria than most animals do. Mm-hmm. So, and they'll swell up. But then you get some dogs that they get bit, I ain't gonna say regularly, but they get bit more often than others, and they actually start to build an immunity to it.
Wow.
And you can be, I've got some that been down, been down a week. Mm-hmm. But there's some that bounce back in a couple days. But it's not anything you want to see happen to your dog.
Sure.
But, when it dries up our water here, yesterday, I was out hunting, doing some deer hunting, and I drove my truck down a road that a year ago I got stuck. It was so muddy and wet, and I got the same truck I'm driving now. I got stuck 2 or 3 times in that road. But yesterday it's so dry. I drove everywhere I wanted to go. But that's what happens when the water starts to dry up. What mud holes are left, those snakes kind of congregate in those mud holes. And I had a good friend. He was from Michigan. He moved down here. And he's come up hunt every Tuesday and Thursday with me. It was about an hour south of me. And this ain't the reason, but I kind of joke him about it. His name is Lynn Bingham. He lives up in Michigan right now. Mm-hmm. But we were driving down the Bud Road one night. It was drying up. And I think we shot 4 or 5 moccasins out of the first mud hole we come to.
Ooh.
Well, he moved back to Michigan about a month later. And he didn't move back because of them snakes. But I keep joking about it. Yeah, them snakes set you back on north, didn't they?
Oh.
That's kind of a little private joke we have, but I know there was other reasons involved. But it didn't take many snakes to it. He went back. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I'm just gonna stay up here. I'm not coming down there. I don't like those snakes.
Well, no, I don't like them either. Trust me, I hate them. But being colorblind, I don't see most of them, and and then the ones I have to deal with, I just have to deal with them. But there's another thing too. A water snake and a moccasin, they kind of look. There's a lot of water snakes have been claimed to be moccasins. You know what I mean?
That's correct. Yes.
So they're and me being colorblind, I mean, I avoid all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, it's bad when you get a dog bit by them. I mean,
Yeah.
a rattlesnake though, but thankfully that's been few and far between.
Yeah.
But there's some big rattlers down here. I killed a rattler many years ago that was about 6'3" in length. But that was probably a once in a lifetime rattler for me to kill. You know what I mean? It was on the side of the road. I driving down the road, and it was a big one. But I tell you what though, that rattlesnake meat, when I skinned that thing out, that was the prettiest white meat I've seen on any animal I think in my life. I didn't eat it, but I guess I hear they eat it out in Texas, and I can understand why. It was pretty white meat. Coon hunting's been good to me. I mean, the people. That's the one thing I can always relate to a coon hunter. You know, a lot of these other people. I mean, I just, I don't know. Wasn't much for. I like to deal with the facts. You know, the facts of what made a dog click, and I'll go to my grave not figuring that out because these dogs have changed over the years and different things have happened and I sometimes they haven't really changed that much. It's just that you get old and your mind changes, I guess. So.
Well, Bruce, you've done this for a long time. You've pleasure hunted, you've competition hunted, and all kinds of different registries. But if you could add or remove or modify the rules, would you make any changes now? Do you think, I know over the years rules change and, I get it. The hounds change, the hunting changes. But is there anything out there that you would like to see added or taken away or just modified?
Well, it's probably, I have some ideas, but since my legs are about wore out, I don't do much competition hunting. I don't know if it's fair for me to have my input into it because I probably, if they change it tomorrow because I said it needed to be changed, it probably wouldn't be fair to the people that didn't want to change because I would never hunt by them rules. But now my handlers and stuff or my friends would. But the one with PKC is, and I saw this, is the leash lock rule. I mean, I've seen too many times if you could get maybe the better dog off the leash, it could beat the dog that left there babbling and treat a mile away on a hot coon. And then the dog that worked the track had a lower strike, treat a coon right there by you. You had to put it on a leash and walk it a mile in an hour hunt, not to be turned off the leash again or turned off with enough time to do something. I hunted CHKC several years ago. When Reggie Ramsey had that, it was a kennel club that started, I guess, out in Texas, and they didn't have the leash lock rule, and I enjoyed that. I mean, your dog treed, you turned your dog loose, and if there was more coon in the area, he could tree it while the other dogs were going and somewhere else. And I just enjoyed that rule there. But I would think that I would think that I don't know why I never caught on, but Steve Fielder, Jerry Ball, when they were with AKC, they put a pretty good rule into place for the strike points and stuff. But I never caught on and carried over to PKC or UKC, and I don't understand why. But then again, too, I mean, it just didn't. But they had a pretty good rule that could penalize the babbler. And so I think the dogs do bark a little bit more than they should on when you turn them loose and on track. I think there's some undeserved strike points given, and I think there's some, keeping a dog on a leash that could be out there trying to tree a coon. But that's what you're trying to see is who could, what dog can tree the most coon. Taking it to a dog that babbled off the chain, and he's going to beat you because you don't have time to beat him.
That's good. I appreciate you sharing that. What advice would you give to someone that's considering hunting with dogs, whether it's coon hunting, again, squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting, whatever, bird hunting? What advice would you have for anybody thinking about it?
Well, I guess first and foremost is to be honest with yourself. I mean, a lot of times we try to fool our buddies into thinking we got something, and we start fooling ourselves. You just got to be honest with the situations. Black is black and white is white. And you're out there with your dog, and you know what your dog is doing, and you have to build some standards, and you build those over years and stuff. But if there's something you don't like or something you don't want to put up with, well, don't breed that dog, because it's going to come back to haunt you in future generations.
Right.
So many people have a female that they can't stand a certain thing or a few different qualities that aren't the best. Well, they'll breed her to maybe the next world champion. But in them pups, there's going to be a few of them pups that have the same qualities as a mother that they didn't like to begin with, and they're going to be putting up with the same things over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And it breeds not like making soup. People wait a little more salt, a little more of this, a little more treat power, a little more track power. Nah, it's kind of like they have it or they don't have it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you look for the dogs that have those qualities that you like, and that's the dogs you either breed to or get pups out of that style of dog. There's an old saying, you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, and you can't make a top coon dog out of a dog that has poor genetics.
It's very good. Very good advice.
There's a lot of work, a lot of hard work, and a lot of, I think a lot of people don't perhaps are able to. Maybe hunt their dogs enough. Mm-hmm. But then a good dog, you just start to see, when you work with puppies, you start to see the some that are head and shoulders above the rest, even head and shoulders above his litter mates. Mm-hmm. And you got to be, and I got 2 young dogs right now that Corey's axe hunting, and I like one better than the other, but the other's really doing a better job in the woods than the one I like. so I kind of just took an attachment to it when it was young, because I guess it wanted to be his ears scratched more than the other one. But the one I like the most doesn't appear to be making the best coon dog. Mm-hmm. So I can't favor him if the other one's producing coon and he's not. I got to favor the dog that's producing coon.
That's terrific advice. It's hard to do, but it's terrific advice.
Very, very hard to do. Yes, sir.
I want to switch gears just a little bit and talk about Conkey Outdoors. And could you tell us, and for anybody that's listening, that's out there, that's ever picked up a hunting magazine or been online to check out hunting, you're going to run across Conkey Outdoors advertisements. I mean, you guys have been around for a while, and I'm not going to tell it. Would you share your story about kind of how Conkey Outdoors got started and what you guys are about?
You kind of said the key words at the beginning. Anybody that's picked up a hunting magazine. I used to read the American Cooter and the Full Cry and the Bloodlines. Mm-hmm. I'd read them things from page to page to page. And this is back in the early 2000s, the 1990s. Matter of fact, a guy bought a box of American Cooters from 1980 by my store the other day. And that's strange because there ain't many coon hunters down here, especially ones that stay magazines. Mm-hmm. And I've been looking through them again. But what I would do is I'd read these magazines, and I was interested in the dogs and the pedigrees, but I also got interested in the dog supply people. Mm-hmm. There used to be Taylor Nylon, there's been Yoder, and different, and John Wick and his stuff and how he started. And supplies, hunting supplies, always interested me, and changes over the years in hunting supplies. Mm-hmm. And I when I moved to North Florida back in the early 80s, I got a job here in the power plant, and I worked there for 29 years. Probably been gone 13, 14 years from there. But anyway, I would read these magazines, and these dog leashes and all those different stuff. And about 2007, I saw that I was winding down in the power plant and saw that retirement was going to be someday. So I said, maybe I sell dog supplies, see how that goes. And I actually, what got me started was in 2007, Garmin came out with the Alpha, the 220, mm-hmm. the Astro 220, which was the very first GPS. And so I was at 25 years at the power plant, and they would buy you something up to $800, and they would send it to the plant and give it to you. So I said, well, order me one of them, because I would never buy that for myself. I was kind of a low-cost coon hunter. But so they bought one of those, and I think it was about $600-700 with the extra collar. And I had actually went online, because I used to be on UKC message board quite a bit. I had sold it to a truck driver before I ever got it, because I didn't think I was going to do something that sophisticated. And I had a buddy that went to a UKC night hunt, and he called me the next day. He said, hey, he said, I know you're trying to sell that Astro. I said, well, I got it sold. He said, I don't think you want to do that. He said, I saw one last night at a night hunt, and he said, they were simply amazing. So I got it a few days later, and I got reading about it. So I said, I think you're right, buddy. I said, I want to keep with this. So what I did is the one that I told the guy, and it was actually a truck driver in Colorado. I went ahead and sold it to him, but I started trying to figure out how to buy some more. So I started buying some and started selling some, and that's kind of where my initial contact with Garmin and everything came from. First of all, I wasn't buying it from Garmin in the beginning, but then I became a Garmin dealer, and then I started going to Autumn Oaks and the Winter Classic and all the different bigger hunts, Grand American, and I sell them my products. And I guess, but I think the bottom line is, if you ask me why it worked, because I was just a hunter, and I tried to treat the hunters with respect that they deserved, and give them a good product and treat everybody fair. It wasn't really to make money. It was just to do it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I guess my niche in coon hunting, maybe because I never had that good a dog, I found a better niche in selling dog supplies to those that had good dogs. But so that, and I met so many, and we would go to the hunts, and Reggie Ramsey with Valley Creek would be there. Gary Beatty from 10 Mile, Tennessee would be there with his stuff, and Yoder would be there with their stuff, and all these light builders. And actually, Kevin Raywater, I teamed up with him, and we introduced the Boss Light, the LED lights that just were starting to come out. And he built the Boss Light, and I kind of advertised it for him because he was still working, and I had retired then. I could answer the phone all day. And I helped him get started with the Boss Lights. And it's just, when we would be at a hunt and we run low of product, Reggie Ramsey, if he had an excess, he would supply me. If I had a product there that somebody needed help with, I would supply them. It wasn't, you think that we're all competitors? Nah, I didn't look at it that way. I mean, we're all there trying to help the coon hunter. And if somebody needed something and I didn't have it, I'd send them to the guy's booth that did. It didn't matter to me. I just wanted to see the coon hunter get what they needed and be treated fairly.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned the Garmins and kind of that changed coon hunting some when those were introduced. Could you talk us through how just technology has affected hunting? Because I think back to how we started coon hunting, and it was very low tech, very low budget. And now you can spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on stuff, on technology. So what have you seen in the past 60-something years of coon hunting?
The Garmin revolutionized the tracking. I mean, you had they call them the beep tracking systems, the telemetry systems. Garmin changed that, and hunters before, they'd hear their dog bark at air, and now they can see that they were 800 yards, and they can see where they were a mile. We learned so much just in distances, how far we had to walk to a dog, or how far we could hear a dog from looking at that distance on the street every night we were hunting. So that revolutionized the tracking. The LED lights, that changed the lights world. I tell you, the thermals, and not all these changes. I mean, there's some people, some of the things are falling by the wayside, or the thermal units. Mm-hmm. Because I sell them, and everybody in my store has one. We use the thermal units, and I see these younger guys, and years ago, I used to try to teach somebody how to blow a coon squaller. These younger guys, unless it's in a competition hunt, they don't even carry a coon squaller.
Wow.
Because
I never thought about that.
And think about that. So a coon squaller was one of the supplemental, basic things that every coon hunter had. These guys nowadays, they start looking at their thermal walking into the tree. And I'm talking about pleasure hunting and training your dogs. I'm not talking about in a competition hunt. But because they got their certain rules and govern what you can do. But I actually saw something yesterday that I seen for the first time. I mean, I just hadn't seen it. I went with several guys from the store, the younger guys and their brothers. We went deer hunting yesterday morning, and we run deer with dogs down here. And I got 3 young deer dogs that need to be, put on a hot deer and let it run a little bit. And contrary to what the coon hunters think, not every dog will run a deer. These deer dogs are just like coon dogs. Some of them will and some of them won't. You got to work them and you got to train them. But I got there and they said, come right here to the power line. We see three deer standing out there by an oak tree. And they were looking at, they were 100-some yards away, and they were looking at them through a thermal in the daylight, seeing the deer out there in the woods.
Wow.
I've never spotted a deer with a thermal before. But they went walked out there, and sure enough, 3 little does out there, and my young dogs run them a little bit, but but they did when we turned them out, hoping they would run them. They didn't do very good, but there's always another day for that. But the thermal units has been a big change, even with hog hunting at night and stuff. I mean, that's what my son loves to do, and it's funny. Some of us in the store, about half of us like the coon hunt, dog hunt. Some of us do both, and some of us are mostly still hunters and thermal hunters. So it all works out good. We whatever we love, they kind of try to be an expert in that field so we can help the customers. So it gives us a wide range of how to help people and do different things. But I don't know, the thermals, like I say, my young guys, I don't even know that they don't take a coon squaller when they pleasure hunt.
That's just so interesting. I'd never even thought about that. Bruce, as we wrap up, I want to ask you a couple more things. But we're getting close to the holidays, and maybe there's some folks out there listening that still haven't figured out what to buy their favorite hunter for Christmas, or maybe there's birthdays or anniversaries coming up that people would like to get something special for their hunters. Could you talk us through some gift ideas for our favorite hunters that maybe are on a budget, that want to spend just a little bit of money, and maybe something that's kind of in the middle somewhere, and then maybe some of those more expensive, sky's the limit, money's no object kind of prizes that might be out there for folks?
First, before I go to the pricing and the different things, if you got a hunter, and I know my wife, she bought me stuff in the past, and I said, I wish she'd have bought me something else. And I don't care if you're shopping at Conkey's or you're shopping at Bass Pro, a gift certificate is a good idea, a good thing to buy your hunting buddy, because they can take that dollar value and buy what they need or what they want, or put it toward that. So that I suggest that to a lot of women that are not sure. But as far as the products and stuff, I think most of the guys nowadays, a lot of them on the high dollar end, they're looking to get into the thermals, the tracking systems. They're by no means are they cheap, but they're looking to get into the tracking systems. And people say, well, the Alpha 200 or the Alpha 300, and which one's better? It's not, to me, it's not a better. It's understanding, are you going to be deer hunting with groups of guys that maybe over a course of a day you may be exposed to 40 or 50 other hounds? If that's you, the Alpha 300, there's no other way to go. I can walk up to a buddy. I got 5 guys, 7 guys, 8 guys on there. I got all their hounds grouped, and I can transfer all that information electronically to that handheld, and he's got it in just a matter of minutes. But the 200, you got to do one dog at a time and different things. But if you're a coon hunter and you only got 1 or 2 dogs, well, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing really time consuming about that.
Sure.
You could group them. So what I think the main thing is what are you doing with your dogs? How do you hunt your dogs? And that's what the system that fits you the best.
Mm-hmm.
But on the so on the higher end, you were talking about thermals and tracking systems. Then in the middle, I'm talking about maybe $100 items. You got a wide variety of boots out there now: Dan's hunting gear and Yoder, nylon. They both make a quality product, and I can't speak for other dealers, and I assume most of them are the same. If you get something from us, people always talk about the boots not lasting. Well, if you hunt a lot, you're hard on your boots. But if there's a flaw with anything we sell, like boots or vest or hunting clothing or anything, there's no question asked. Just return it and give us a call, and we'll tell you where to return it to, and we'll make sure you get what you want. Those coon squallers are a favorite for a lot of people. I saw on Facebook today somebody was asking about a coon squaller. Well, yeah, there's a coon squallers. I think coon squallers. Now, I'm not talking bad about them here because I've used them for a lot of years.
Oh yeah.
But coon squallers are kind of like fishing lures. A lot of them fishing lures are painted up real pretty to catch the fishermen more than they catch the fish. And these coon squallers are kind of the same way. I mean, they got these pretty acrylic ones, and they got they got some aluminum ones, and they got different types. But you gotta get it. You gotta get confidence in it. That's the main thing. I think a hunter has to have confidence in that coon squaller. And I've seen coon go up trees, and I've seen if your dog runs in and drives a coon up a tree and doesn't really want to be up, it just went up that tree to escape that dog. They're more likely to be nervous, and I can squall with my mouth and make that coon move around and maybe even make it jump out. So a coon squall is going to work there. In a dead tree, it all depends on how long if the coon's in that dead tree sleeping, you maybe can blow a long time and you're not going to see no coon.
That's right.
So it all depends on how quick or how you got that coon up a tree. Did it tree up somewhere that's comfortable? Was it already in the tree? Was it laid up on a limb sleeping? So that kind of depends upon how the coon squaller works. But there's one that's not made anymore. Josh McAllis made the Big Show game, Big Show coon squaller. It was nice. I had a lot of confidence in that coon squaller. I actually seen coon rock a limb to get over to another tree using that coon squaller. But you gotta but it's a coon squaller that you get confidence in. But that's kind of on the low end. Coon squaller, somebody acrylic one, I don't know. I'm gonna say about $50. You can find some a little cheaper, find some more expensive. But for $50, you get a good coon squaller. Boots, stuff like that. You get a hunting vest for about $50. Leads and leashes, you get those on less than $20. Dog collars, name tags. There's a wide variety of name tags now. Some the brass name tags, and a lot of people went to these laser cut these tags and laser engraving, I should say, and they got a black or red background, and they're really pretty. And I think nothing lasts as long as the stamped brass, but it kind of depends upon what you want there.
Well, those are great gift ideas that'll suit anybody. I do like the idea of the gift card. Yeah, I think nobody knows exactly what you want better than you do yourself. So
yeah, and I assume the other companies. I don't really. When I first started, I used to see what the other companies were doing, but then I got to the point that I just have to worry about what we're doing, and we try to do it right. But we've got it easy. You can go online and you can buy a gift certificate, and you can print it out on your computer. And we got it all figured out how to keep everything straight, legit. And so it's kind of a painless way too. It's not really, you're sending money in, you're getting a card, you can print one right away.
Yeah. Well, Bruce, as we finish up, is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have, or is there anything else that you'd like to cover or promote?
I just think sportsmanship and having an understanding and realizing that no matter how good your dog is, don't don't get a big head and help the other guy. Mm-hmm. There's everybody has a buddy that needs help with their dog. Mm-hmm. Needs encouragement with their dog. Mm-hmm. And we look at the big name hunters, mm-hmm. and we wonder, how do they keep getting these good dogs? That's because that's their standard they set. They know most of the dogs in the country. They know where to go to find the dog. And actually, on the bloodlines and stuff, I think it's important when you get a dog, you get it from somebody that you can trust, mm-hmm. and you have confidence in, and and just do the best you can to take care of your dog and feed your dog like it should be fed, and take it to the vet or give it, if you do the medicine yourself, which most of us do. Just don't buy the medicine and not use it. Buy the medicine and use it as you should. Just taking care of your dog.
Bruce, sage advice. And again, I really thank you for coming on and sharing your story. Not only your personal story, but the story of your business as well. And I really appreciate you coming on. I thank you so much.
Can I throw one more plug out there?
Well, of course.
I did actually mention my supporting cast. I started this business in my bedroom by myself with some help from my wife.
Yep.
But she didn't like the way I told her what to do, so I put her in charge of human resources and let her fire herself. My son, he's retired from 29 years as a police officer, and he's working with me now. He moved down back to Florida. His son moved down here from a really nice business and actually advertising and television and video production. He's working with me now. I got Corey Davis, who's in his early 30s. I met him the night of his high school graduation. He stopped by the house here to pick up a light to go coot hunting, him and a buddy. And I said, any high school kid that would rather go coot hunting than partying on their graduation night, there's probably somebody I need to know. And Corey's like a son to me. Actually, I hunted with Corey yesterday. I hunted with my grandson, Zachary, my son. I hunted with two of Corey's brothers, one of them which works for me. Well, actually, both do. One he works, but he fixes stuff on the side when he can. So it's kind of a two-family business. Corey's wife works for me, but Corey and Kelsey, Kelsey runs a shipping department. I've just been so blessed to having these young people come in. And right now, what I mainly do is kind of just stay out of their way. and let them move forward and take care of the people, because they do. They're pretty knowledgeable. We've had several meetings with Garmin engineers and stuff, and these guys are on the phone talking to them, and we got a problem with a product. They have no problem. We've got our engineers that we go to and share that with. Product development, we give inputs on ideas, and they listen to these young guys, and these young guys know what they're doing, and I'm thankful for them.
Oh, yeah. Well, fantastic. Yeah, you got to have a good team around you. Sounds like you got a great one.
Yeah, that's the main thing in life. Mm-hmm. Like I've had a great wife for 57 years, and I've got a good supporting cast around me in the store. So.
Well, Bruce, I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time and look forward to crossing paths with you again in the future. Thank you so much.
Hey, well, thank you, sir, and God bless you. And I know you hunt them rabbit dogs. You have fun chasing them rabbits.
I sure will. Take care, Bruce.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to Buff in the Rough. And remember to like and subscribe if you want to be notified when we have new content available. And please send comments and suggestions to buffintherough@gmail.com.